Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Sarah? Here we go.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Sarah Dielman-Perry and I'm the Director of Economic Opportunity at Neighborhood Allies. We've got a great crowd with us here this morning and I'm glad that you're all here to talk with us and to learn with us. For those not familiar with Neighborhood Allies, I'll provide a very brief overview of our economic opportunity work, and then I will turn it over to my colleague at Achieva, and then we'll get on with our presentation. So Neighborhood Allies convenes the Asset Building Network for general issues related to asset building and equity, the Bank On Coalition, which was just launched officially a few months ago, with our partners, the City of Pittsburgh and the FDIC, and the Disability Awareness and Financial Inclusion Working Group, which is supported by National Disability Institute. We also lead 3 direct service programs, the Pittsburgh Financial Empowerment Center, which you'll hear about in detail later, and that provides free one-on-one financial counseling by trained and certified professionals. And that's a program provided by with our partners, the City of Pittsburgh and Advantage Credit Counseling Services. We also have Fund My Future, which is a children's savings program that brings opportunities to save to families across Pennsylvania, and Bank On, which promotes safe and accessible bank accounts for those underbanked and unbanked. Anyone looking to get involved with these initiatives or wanting to find out more can get in touch with me. My contact information is on the previous slide, which you'll have access to very soon. The way that I got involved in this workshop series is through the Financial Inclusion Working Group. It started when National Disability Institute organized a Financial Inclusion Summit in November 2019, and then helped launch the local working group. The working group identified several priorities and has been working to provide resources and key topics that were identified at the summit. We narrowed down the priorities to money management for people with disabilities, which you'll hear about today, disability and awareness and sensitivity for financial professionals, the PA ABLE Savings Program, and understanding public benefits. And we're pleased to say that this that we've successfully completed those other 4 webinars, and this is our final one, and they've really been great. Last April, we responded as a working group to an RFP from Heinz Endowments and the FISA Foundation to address financial inclusion through a program called Moving Forward, Disability Inclusion and Access. I've added a link to the Moving Forward website here so you can check out the resources on this page. And it includes a lot of really great resources. Conducting a self-assessment of your organization's accessibility, improving accessibility of social media, of websites, creating accessible documents, videos, planning an accessible meeting or event, and providing accommodations. We were awarded funding and have been working with Achieva Family Trust to plan this series of workshops and trainings that we kicked off in December. In addition to National Disability Institute and Achieva, I'd like to recognize my co-chairs of the working group, Chuck Reese of JP Morgan Chase and Katie Smith of Disability Options Network, who you'll be also hearing from in a couple of minutes. Anyone on this webinar who's local and wants to join our working group can reach out to me. I'd like now to introduce Patty Urena from Achieva Family Trust. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Patty Urena, and I am the coordinator of education and outreach for Achieva Family Trust. For those of you who are not familiar with the Family Trust, let me take a minute to tell you a little bit about us. Achieva Family Trust is part of the Achieva Family organizations. Achieva has been in existence for more than 60 years and is one of the largest providers of supports and services for persons with disabilities in Southwestern PA. The services offered go across the lifespan and include, among others, early intervention, residential, employment supports, protective services, and advocacy. Achieva Family Trust was created in 1998 in response to significant changes to Social Security law that created several types of special needs trusts for persons with disabilities. We were the first nonprofit in Pennsylvania to offer pooled trust services, which require a nonprofit as a corporate trustee. Special needs trusts enable a person with a disability to protect assets that are in their name while continuing to be eligible for vital government benefits such as supplemental security income and medical assistance. Achieva Family Trust currently has over 2,300 accounts with more than $175 million in assets under management. If you'd like to learn more about us, please visit our website at www.achievafamilytrust.org. I also want to take a moment to thank Neighborhood Allies for awarding us this grant, and to Sarah Dillman Perry for all her help in putting these programs together. It truly has been a pleasure partnering with them and National Disability Institute to offer this series of disability inclusion trainings. This is the last in the series of workshops on financial inclusion, but as a reminder, this webinar, just like the previous ones, will be recorded and can be found on our website for you to go back at your convenience to view at any time. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. You will have the opportunity to ask questions during the presentation. Just type it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Closed captioning is available for this workshop, and it is being live streamed on the Achieva Facebook page. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our first two presenters, Susan Tachau and Katherine Reim.
Hi, and thank you very much. And I'm Susan Tachau, and I'm the CEO of Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. And I'm so pleased to be able to work with Katherine Reim. Katherine is on our board of directors, and she is a past president of PATF. And right now she also serves as a funding assistance coordinator, doing some outreach for us in the northwestern part of the state. So Katherine, feel free to enter in and clarify something or add some extra information. But for those of you who live in Western Pennsylvania, please reach out to Katherine. She is a wealth of knowledge. Next slide, please. So I'm going to be talking about what we do at Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. We are, as you can tell on this first slide, we are very, very invested in helping people with disabilities and older Pennsylvanians get the assistive technology devices and services that they need. Next slide. Our mission is to provide education, and that includes financial education and financing opportunities and advocacy for people with disabilities and older Pennsylvanians. As I said, helping them to acquire the assistive technology devices and services that improve the quality of their lives. Next slide, please. We are a statewide nonprofit organization. We are based in the East, right outside of Philadelphia. We are what is considered in the disability community a consumer-directed organization. The majority of the members of our board of directors are individuals with disabilities and or immediate family members. And right now, 100% of our staff members are individuals with disabilities or immediate family members. I, for one, have 2 children who have disabilities. My oldest, Michael, is 39 and is a big user of assistive technology. We are also the only organization in Pennsylvania and really in the Mid-Atlantic who's also a community development financial institution that does consumer lending. And we do consumer lending to the disability community. And lastly, we are the alternative financing program designated by the Federal Assistive Technology Act. So some of you may know the state AT program, that's Tachau. We are the financing arm, so our job is to help you actually get that AT. Next slide, please. So what is assistive technology? It is essentially any device that helps you, a person with a disability or senior, do the things they want to do. And on this slide, I've given you several examples so that you can be very broad in your thinking, whether it's hand controls when you're driving or a walker, stair glide, hearing aids, a smart watch to help somebody who really needs medication reminders or checking in with someone, wheelchairs. Out in the western part of the state, you all get a lot of snow. And you'll notice on one of these pictures, DJ has put together a shovel on wheels so she can clear her driveway. And then recreational equipment can also be assistive technology. The bottom right-hand side is a former member of our board of directors who has MS and a spinal cord injury, and she has an adapted skull. Next slide, please. And please remember that assistive technology all by itself may make it so that you don't know how to use it. So we consider assistive technology services as part of what we do. And that includes assessments, evaluation, helping you figure out the selection, the designing, construction, and the all-important training and repair. So it's all wrapped up into one as to the definition of assistive technology. Next, please. We at PATF have 3 programs: information and assistance about funding resources for assistive technology and vendors that we've worked with. We don't have a list of approved vendors. People come to us with the device they want to purchase from the vendor they want to use. We have constructed, in what we're going to talk about today, our own financial education curriculum, and then we do financial loans for assistive technology. Next slide, please. What's very important for everyone to remember is that we are your resource for acquiring AT. We help people of all ages, all income levels, all disabilities, and all health conditions. And that's really important because in Pennsylvania, like many states, there are strict eligibility requirements for many of our programs, but not for ours. We serve everyone who comes to us, and we don't charge fees. So next. And I want to give you a very brief overview of what we do as a community development financial institution. You will be able to get more information about our program by going to our website, patf.us. For everybody who comes to us and wants to take out a loan, they get some financial education, some one-on-one coaching, and we support you throughout the process in case there are any blips. So our mini loan program is $100 to $7,000, 0% interest and 0 fees, minimum of $20 a month, maximum 4 years. Our low interest loan program is for those loans greater than $7,000 up to $60,000. We may need to guarantee your loan if you have poor credit or no credit, but have the ability to repay, and in those cases up to $35,000. Again, there are no fees. The interest rate is 3.75. We are leveraging those dollars from some of our partner banks. So please remember that, one of the basic programs that we do is our loan program, and we're the only one in Pennsylvania that really focuses on providing people loans for assistive technology. Next, please. We're not small, but we're not huge, but we have helped already 4,000, these numbers are a month old, over 4,065 people with loans for assistive technology. Our default rate is under 2%. It's because of all the support we give you, but also assistive technology is important. It helps you do the things you want to do. Over 42 million in loans, and we've helped more than 10,000 Pennsylvanians learn about information and assistance, or providing also financial education. Next, please. So part of what Sarah and the Achieva team have done is talked about how to make our programs accessible. And so our guidelines for PATF, which follow through on our curriculum, is that we believe and we make sure that all of our online materials are 508 compliant. We follow the WCAG standards, and that stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, 2.1 level AA. It includes making sure if you don't know what WCAG standards are, that the website is accessible to people with disabilities who use technology and screen readers. There are color contrasts, text size adjustments, inclusion of alternate text under pictures so that all people can access the website. We use photographs in all of our materials of real people with disabilities and no actors. And believe me, I'm sure you know that people with disabilities can tell who's an actor and who's not. We use person first or identity first language. Our reading level, and from our curriculum, Sense and Sensibility, reading level is 6th grade maximum. And we include glossaries, and we really want people to understand the material. So we repeat the words and the definitions multiple times. We use non-glossy paper, thicker paper so that things don't bleed through, in wire O binding so that you can open the materials and not have to fumble around with papers. Our office and the locations where we do presentations are always physically accessible. And on our trainings and presentations, we provide certified American Sign Language interpretation and CART services. Those are just some examples. And I put this list in because if you follow these guidelines, then pretty much your presentations and your materials will be accessible. Next, please. So our program, as I mentioned, is primarily a loan program. And over the years, we have read and interpreted so many credit reports. And what we discovered is that people with disabilities, like all of us who don't have disabilities, they need financial education. You may or may not be aware of identity theft, or if you have a loan and you're not repaying, how that hurts your credit. So in 2011, we created the first ever comprehensive financial education curriculum for people with disabilities. And it has now been updated 6 times. It's called Sense and Sensibility, A Guide to Money Management. It's available in print, also on our website as an accessible PDF. It's in English and in Spanish. We have an educator's companion guide and slides so that you can, educator can go more deeply into a subject. But also, we also want to provide alternate materials. So if you're teaching people who may or may not have as deep of an understanding, say, about money or what is identity theft, we have some companion materials for you. You can find our materials on our website at patf.us/financial-education. And coming next week or the week after, we have our brand new website that's launching called studymoney.us, which I will talk about in just a second, but it's very exciting. It's an interactive website. Next, please. So why is our financial education curriculum important as opposed to going to some of the standard ones? It's because of some of the topic areas that we include that are specifically important to individuals with disabilities, including money mapping, earned and unearned income, and how to access more unearned income in Pennsylvania, going through Compass, for example, benefits planning, safe ways to save, such as the ABLE program, special needs trusts, planning for a home of your own, adult decision making, and there's a transition checklist that it reminds people as they leave high school into the adulthood, some of the things they really should take care of and have so that they have future opportunities for education, for example, support services from our home and community-based waivers, supplemental security income, and things of that sort. Next. We also include in our book, and I think that our friends at Achieva have talked about this a great deal. What is the difference between ABLE and special needs trusts? Can you have both? Is one, fit your needs? However you want to understand both able and special needs trust. We have a chart in our book and on our website that does a comparison. And please remember that able accounts, if you don't live in Pennsylvania, able programs differ from state to state. We are focused on Pennsylvania. Next. The Department of Education also, if you're looking for financial education materials, PATAN, which stands for Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, we help them create something called Financial Fundamentals Discussion Starters, because talking about money is important. Talking about setting future goals, how to protect yourself, how to be banked, all of that is important. So if you want to go and find what our schools are looking at, you can go to the PATAN website and find financial fundamentals. It was just updated a year ago, I think. Next. And I apologize for going so quickly. I see that I'm already beginning to kind of run out of time. So I'll just keep going. But this is the front page of our brand new website. And we are extremely excited about this. It's, as I said, it's going to launch in another week or 10 days. So what you'll see on this is that it's organized by topic areas. The book, Sense and Sensibility, it has chapters. We're translating those chapters into topic areas so that you can go in order or go exactly where you want to go. So if, for example, and I know, for example, Achieva has a project called developing a plan for a home of my own, you can go just to that home of your own and get that content and then worksheets. If you're interested, for example, in our love of assistive technology, what is it? How do you get it? How do you save for it? You can go to assistive technology. Again, you will find that this is a fully accessible website. Next, please. What's exciting about this website is that every single topic area has content. It also has activities that are interactive and will save from one section to another. We have helpful hints, and you'll see here, remember, the little remember things. You will be able to save it on your computer or download materials and print them out for the next time you need them. Next, please. Here's an example of some of the content areas, ways to save money and not lose your benefits. So we're hoping that it's plain English, plain language to know exactly what we're talking about. So here we're talking about achieving a better life experience, our ABLE accounts. And for those of you who have an ABLE account, you will remember that almost as soon as you enter into that site, paable.gov, you're asked for how do you want to save your money. And so what we've been asked many times, how do you decide, how do you invest? So what we've done right here on the front cover is provided you a link to the PAable website, but also right to the right is thinking about investment. Because this is a complicated subject for most of us, and I will speak for our son, Michael, who never was able to manage his own money. He certainly didn't know how to invest. So we're trying to give helpful hints, knowing, of course, that we are not financial advisors in that way. Underneath, you will see we have a section all about special needs trusts, and we will then provide, as is on page 30, in our book, you'll find an updated list or a chart on the difference between an ABLE account and a special needs trust and how they can complement each other. Next, please. When you go through the book or the website, after every topic area, there will be a quiz. When you complete each one, you will find that you can earn a badge. And after you've earned all of your badges at the very end, you will have an opportunity to get a certificate. So we hope it is more interactive than most of the websites you've seen, so that you can earn your badges. You will be able to figure out what you know and what you don't know. So if you miss something on your quiz, it will tell you where to go back and refer, and be able to understand what you missed. Next. And we are also trying to help gauge and work with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on the financial well-being scale. So we've put this in. It will not be matched against the people who go onto Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's, the CFPB financial website, but you will know where you match compared to how the thousands of other people do. So a low score means that really you are not in as much of control of your money, that you're pretty much living day to day, and that you cannot save for an emergency. A higher score means that you have a good understanding of your finances, your income, your expenses, and you are able to set savings goals and deal with an emergency. So after you have finished this curriculum, you will be able to access this financial well-being scale. We also list a bunch of resources. So in a few minutes, you'll be talking to Anna Frank, and they use the FDIC financial education curriculum. We put these in as resources. They're very important if you want to learn more or you learn differently. The resources from the FDIC Money Smart, but CFPB has a wonderful curriculum, Your Money, Your Goals. Bank of America has a nice curriculum that also includes a lot of videos from Khan Academy. So we link to all of those to help make this as comprehensive as possible. Next, please. What we've also learned is that people are enjoying webinars such as this one. So, and we're in the pandemic, so we cannot get together. So we've created a Money Talks webinar series. It's been a 10-month series. We have a couple more. It's usually the third Wednesday of every month from about 1 to 2 o'clock. We've talked about money mapping, able, safe ways to save, of course, and coming up next week is adult decision making, meaning we're going to talk about supported decision making, representative payees, powers of attorney, guardianship, and that there are alternatives to guardianship. So all of the webinars are fully accessible. The slides and the videos are up on our website. So I encourage all of you to join. These webinars are an offshoot of a conference that we put together 2 years ago called Financial Empowerment for People with Disabilities. Next, please. This is just more information about our webinar series. You'll see that we've incorporated those accessibility tools that I talked about earlier, of color contrast, language behind words, but also we've made a lot of social media. We are finding that many families and individuals with disabilities are on social media, Facebook, for example, Instagram, not so much on LinkedIn, but anyway, we're trying the best we can to do outreach. If you all have ideas, we're always open to those ideas. Next, please. So a quick summary of what we do here in Pennsylvania that's part of our curriculum is that we have the Sense and Sensibility, A Guide to Money Management. It's approximately 90 pages if you're interested. And again, you can download it from our website. You can also email me, and my contact information is at the end, and we'll send you a copy for free. If you want more than one copy, we just charge $20, which is what it costs to print and to ship. It's in English and Spanish and online, fully accessible, 508 compliant. We have an educator's guide, which will be updated again in the fall. And the educator's guide also matches with the Pennsylvania education standards so that teachers can be encouraged to talk about certain aspects of financial education and know that they are meeting the standards that they must address in their curriculum. We have money clubs that we will support or, provide curriculum for, which are groups of people, typically young adults who are getting ready for employment or a home of their own. We have our website. Again, it's relaunched in another week, called studymoney.us. The financial fundamentals, that pamphlet that comes with PATF, our conference, our webinars. And for those of you who are really interested in this topic, there is a statewide coalition called the Jumpstart Coalition, which is very invested in infusing financial education in all of our schools, so that I'm sure most of us agree that financial education should start before kindergarten. So we're working really hard to get opportunities in our schools. There's a wonderful group of organizations, and a little over a year and a half ago, we finally got a piece of legislation passed by the Pennsylvania General Assembly that says that a course in personal finance can count towards your graduation requirements in high school. So it's exciting that we're moving the needle a little bit. And what's next is that we're incorporating financial education into the housing and employment planning within our home and community-based waiver programs here in Pennsylvania. Next slide, please. That's our contact information. And I know I have just a few minutes, but Katherine, I went through it fast. What would you like to add here that I might have gone a little too quickly for?
Sure. So the biggest thing that I'd like to just mention to you guys is that even if you're not sure what a piece of assistive technology is, come to us, because many times people are looking for ways to fund things, and they're not sure that it's assistive technology. Our number one request is for hearing aids, and with our new program, our new mini loan program up to $7,000, you could get a pair of hearing aids at 0% interest. And a lot of other funders that are out there are charging 15, 18% interest, which makes it impossible for somebody to be able to get something that can really increase their quality of life and help them be safer in their home and their community. So please come to us. We've been around for a long time. We love meeting new people and connecting them to the resources that improve the quality of their life and keep them safe in the community.
Great, thank you. I see we have a question from Dana Boone, who are these services available to people with disabilities living in New York? The answer is yes. And we're going to be working with New York a little bit on their loan program. National Disability Institute runs the New York program, and Lori Schaller is the coordinator of that. And if you text me, I would be delighted to send you the contact information for that program. Trish asked for other states. Yes, there are 42 loan programs in the country. Unfortunately, none in Ohio, none in West Virginia, but we have formed a new subsidiary to PATF called the Appalachian Assistive Technology Loan Fund, so that we hope within a year we'll be able to extend loans in those mini loans, the 0%, 100 to 7,000 in those states. But that again is only one of the programs we do. And I just want to make sure you're clear that this financial education book, while it has some specific information for Pennsylvanians, like how do you sign up for services going through the Compass program, or who do you contact for benefits counseling, whether it is Disability Rights Pennsylvania or Goodwill or AHEAD. It's good information for people who live in other states, and you can just substitute your programs. So for example, special needs trusts and ABLE programs are in all of them. And we put the link so you can find out about your state, learning about why it's important to be banked or have a credit union account. That's the same for everybody. Understanding identity theft, the transition checklist, that's good no matter where you live. So I would recommend that you look at Sense and Sensibility. After we wrote Sense and Sensibility, we were asked by both the FDIC and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to work with them and their advisory committees to develop their supplement for people with disabilities. And both the FDIC and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau have supplements that are fabulous for people with disabilities. Ours happens to go a little deeper in those Pennsylvania areas, but absolutely other states have loan programs, and then most states use our Sense and Sensibility. And because really there was this vacuum of kind of targeting individuals with disabilities. Are there any other questions, or should I go ahead and kick it over to my colleague, Katie Smith? If you have other questions, I would be, delighted to answer you in the chat room. And I see that Amy also, Amy Strano from Achieva, they also offer benefits counseling. And I think those benefits counseling is really important because so many people are worried that if they work, they're going to lose their benefits. And then there's also this very tight line about how much can you earn and still be eligible for other benefits, but there are safe ways to save. And, what is accountable income? I think that's a nice little nuance. So definitely, I would highly recommend talking to someone who knows about benefits counseling. So now I think it's time for me to kick it off to Katie. Katie is an independent living coordinator for a Center for Independent Living. And that's Disability Options Network, who they have a large region out in the western part of the state. They're also interesting because they have so many different programs and probably is the most robust of the Centers for Independent Living in Pennsylvania. So Katie, take it away.
Thank you so much, Susan and Katherine. You provided great information, and I'm just going to recap some of that because I utilize so much of what you provide. And yes, my name is Katie Smith. I'm an independent living coordinator at Disability Options Network. We're a Center for Independent Living. And if you're not familiar with Centers for Independent Living, we're nonprofit organizations, and each Center for Independent Living is run by 51% of staff has to be individuals with lived experience with disabilities. And our office, our organization, we cover 7 different counties, and we have 3 offices. My office that I work for, we all have disabilities, all of the staff. So it's really important to us to make sure that it's individuals talking to individuals that understand the unique needs that we all face. Disability is a very unique experience, and it is really encompasses a lot of different challenges and nuances of how you go through your day-to-day lives, how you transition to work, and what you do with your money. And so Centers for Independent Living, we provide 5 core services. That's advocacy, peer support, information and referral, independent living skills training, and transition. So that's transition out of nursing homes or rehab centers back into the community, but it's also transition of youth and young adults with disabilities that are going from high school to what's next in life. And we seek to support people with disabilities to live as independently as they choose. And so we want youth and young adults to live, if they want to live with their parents and that works for them, that's independence. I live with my mother as well, and that's independence for me. And I'm happy with that. And I am able to work in the community and live in the community and be as independent as I want. And so the way that we do that, we provide skills training, we develop independent living plans with youth and young adults, we provide peer support, and we connect them to resources and other supports within the community. It's really important that youth and young adults feel self-empowerment and self-worth to become a part of the workforce. And it's also important that they are supported and empowered by developing skills and have that assistive technology that they need, have the accommodations to join the workforce. And Susan mentioned the funding of assistive technology, and that is so key. I've worked with the Office of Vocational Rehab to get the resources that I need. They help me to get, and my insurance helps me to get a wheelchair set up. I have a physical disability, and I acquired my disability actually during that really key transition age. I was a senior in college, ready to transition into the world of workforce, and I acquired my disability there. So I have a very unique experience of not having a disability in transition age, but then acquiring one. And so assistive technology that I need is Dragon Naturally Speaking. That helps me, that's speech to text software that helps me to type things, type papers in college, and to type reports at work and develop materials to use with students. But students also need to be supported and empowered in terms of those skills that we were talking about. I use that Sense and Sensibility curriculum as well. And I don't have it with me to hold it up to show you like Susan did, because it's on my desk at work in the pile of curriculums. There you go, Susan, thank you. In the pile of different curriculums that I pull activities from to work with young people. And I'm really excited about that new website to introduce that to teachers that I work with and really help them navigate, because breaking down different skills into manageable pieces is really important. And that managing money is one of those adulting skills that young adults that I work with talk about. And where my assistive technology needs are, and my money management needs, I have that physical disability. And so making sure that I'm able to afford a wheelchair and things like that is important. But students with intellectual and developmental disabilities really need that breakdown of concepts and activities and that repeating practices to ingrain those resources for them. And they also benefit from opportunities to visit banks and practice different services, writing checks, knowing who to talk to. But that needs to happen, like I said, in small, manageable pieces and in low stimulation environments. So when there's a lot of background noise and a lot of echoing and things like that, that can be difficult and very distracting. And so welcoming young adults in at a time of day when there's not a lot of people in the bank would be a great time to introduce them to coming to a bank and to put money into a savings account, opening a checking account, things like that. And another thing to talk about when I work with transition aged youth, they're really worried, they really want to work, they want to contribute, they want to feel like they're worthy of going to work, but they also have a serious concern about losing their benefits and how that impacts benefits, because being on their health insurance is absolutely essential. And then also the Social Security and the supplemental security or Social Security is so important to their families as well. And I can attest that to the fear of losing medical coverage. Medications, equipments, aids, and services all cost a lot of money. And if they're not covered, those things are things that families must self-fund. They're essential. And so the PATF, what they provide as well with the loans is really so helpful. I've not had to use that before, but because I've been lucky, but that's a great resource to have in your resource list to help youth and young adults or individuals with disabilities. And then so working full time and having my income level at a point where I'm able to stay on medical assistance for workers with disabilities and still qualify for waiver services that help me to self-employ an aid that helps me with daily living tasks is really important. And then so being able to understand the different resources that are available and making sure that you build those skills with young adults and give them opportunities to practice in settings that are real, that are authentic, and making sure that they have that assistive technology. Those are the main points that I just wanted to briefly overview. And so that next challenge is really understanding what to do with your assets and how to save money. And I'm going to introduce Anna Frank to talk about what they're doing at the First Commonwealth Bank and talk about ABLE accounts, which Susan already overviewed a little bit of. But Anna, if you're ready. Take it away.
My goodness, yes, I am. Apologies there. I have been spending, as everybody has, a lot of time on Zoom. And wouldn't you know, the minute you said my name, I panicked and couldn't find the Zoom meeting. So here I am. I have found it. I'm excited to be here, everyone. Just delighted to have the opportunity to be here. I will briefly share a real life example of where an ABLE account was able to help somebody meet a huge financial goal, and then again, as mentioned, talk about the absolutely wonderful resources that is part of the Money Smart curriculum. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So I'd like to share a story of one of our customers who was able to use ABLE accounts and her partnership with us as a community bank to become a homeowner. Now, I don't have to tell anybody on this webinar that buying a home is an intimidating, complicated process. And I say that as somebody who works at a bank. So even for bankers who know the lingo, you know, it is complicated. Things go wrong. You get thrown curveballs. So, and in addition to that, of course, you need money. So getting the money together to get to the point where you can close on a home purchase. And then if you add on top of that, the I shouldn't say that, the intricacies of the home buying process itself. I mean, and we're not even talking about the fact that you need to buy a home or find a home that someone's willing to sell to you, right? So in this instance, though, our customer was able to use the ABLE account to kind of overcome the money barrier, and then her partnership with us as a community bank to overcome the complication factor. So with the ABLE account, you all know the wonderful benefits there, how you can use that to accumulate money that has no impact on your other benefits. So it was the perfect vehicle for this customer and her family to save the money that she would need to purchase a home. And as I am sure you know, that when it comes to buying a home, even if you find a home buying program, which we'll talk about in a minute, with a lower down payment, closing costs can still run into the thousands of dollars. Being able to come up with money to pay for insurance, for example, can be quite expensive. And in addition to that, the last thing you want to do when you buy a home is spend every penny you have just to get to the closing costs, because what's going to happen the first second that you become a homeowner? Well, you are now responsible for maintaining and repairing the home. So through, of course, you know, family support and diligent saving, this person was able to accumulate the money in her ABLE account until she not only had money for closing, but she also had enough money to pay at least, or the equivalent amount of at least 3 months of her payments going forward, including her principal, her interest, and then money going into escrow for taxes and insurance. So once she was there, once she was ready, she was able to then start the home buying process, right? So the other part that is really important for anybody, but certainly for somebody with a disability purchasing a home, is finding the right banking partner. Because if you have the right banking partner, you can be linked up. You can be introduced to the right home buying option for you. So there's, I think, a perception out there that either you need like the full traditional 20% down payment to purchase a home, or you can buy a home with just no money down. And the truth is like somewhere in the middle. But through her partnership with us, and you know, of course, I work for First Commonwealth Bank, and I'm speaking from our experience here. But I would just recommend that everybody shop around when it comes to finding a banking partner for you, for your family member, certainly when it comes to shopping for a home, but just for establishing a banking relationship. Find somebody that is a really comfortable fit, that is knowledgeable about the specific products that you're interested in. So in this example, in addition to working with the ABLE program, we also linked, or with in addition to having an ABLE account, we also linked our customer with our first-time home buyer program, which we call First at Home, that had some features that was helpful here. So for example, this customer needed a 1% down payment. And we also offered closing cost assistance. So since she did all the hard work to save in her ABLE account, we were able to match up to $2,000 of her savings with assistance from the bank to essentially double her money there, so that she had at least $4,000 to work with. So pulling from all of the resources in the community, connecting with the right community bank, and then using the ABLE account, she was able to get to the point where she had the money to purchase the home. So everything's going well, and then what happens? A glitch happened. Welcome to the home buying process. So it turns out that her ABLE account was held at a different financial institution. And when it was time to actually transfer the money to the First Commonwealth account for the whole closing process to happen, there was a few days delay that was going to happen between transferring the money from the other financial institution to First Commonwealth, and that was going to mess up the timing of the home closing. So again, because she had this very comfortable relationship with somebody who knew her well at this point, who knew the product well, who could just help her navigate this banking intricacy that just threw her this curveball, she was able to come up with a solution. And all credit to her, because the solution was, well, if you are able to drive to a physical location of the other financial institution, by the way, the closest one happened to be next state over in Ohio, she was able to complete the transaction in person and still kind of, you know, get to her closing on time. So, I mean, we were so delighted and proud, of course, to help this person become a homeowner, but she was in it. She was ready, and ended up literally going the extra mile, extra several miles to get things done. So it can be done, but again, it is an example of where providers in the community give information, like make people aware of things like the ABLE program, and then taking that and linking up with the community bank. So again, not just, and home ownership, of course, is not for everybody, but I would hope that having a banking relationship is for everybody. And just again, want to encourage everyone that is on the call to look around and to shop around and to find a banking partner that you really, really feel comfortable with. Okay, so I think we can go to the next slide, please. Let me add my voice as a hearty endorser to the FDIC's Money Smart curriculum. One of the great things about financial education is that there are many, many, many resources out there, and I think that's a great thing. But sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating or time-consuming, I guess, more than intimidating, to find something that is workable for you, something that meets your requirements, and something that you can easily access. And I feel like Money Smart brings many of these things to the table. So first and foremost, it's free. Many financial education resources are free, including all the great stuff you've learned about so far. But if we just Google like financial education resources on the internet, there's a ton of things that come up, number one, and many of those curricula are provided by places like banks or credit unions or other for-profit institutions. So, full disclosure, I work for a bank. We are not a nonprofit organization. So I'm not saying that those folks are nefarious or have some kind of secret agenda that they are trying to push when they are putting their materials out there from their perspective with their logos on it. But sometimes it can be like there can be a lot of ads to it, or especially if you're working with folks with disabilities, or if you're working with a nonprofit, it can be hard to have to do the legwork to find out which of those will just come off like a disguised sales pitch. Again, I'm not going to paint banks with a bad brush here. That would be silly. I work for one. I love working for our bank. I think we do a wonderful job with living our mission of improving the financial lives of our neighbors. But it can be hard to find like neutral, impartial information. And that is one of the reasons why, us as a bank, we love using Money Smart, because we can put it in front of our community partners and guarantee them that this is not a disguised sales pitch. Yes, we talk about things like bank accounts, and yes, we talk about mortgages and credit and everything else that's in this curriculum. But if we use Money Smart curriculum, we can really demonstrate that it is non-biased information. I think that's a good way to put it. And no ads, which is also great. So it has that going for it. But more pertinent to our topic today, like a previous presenter mentioned, Money Smart has a specific edition that is a companion piece to their curriculum for adults that focuses on topics that would be especially pertinent for adults with disabilities. So it has great examples, it has specialized information, and it is all very, very easy to use. So Money Smart comes with many things, but the two components I want to talk about is the one I just did, right? It has a whole curriculum, not just for adults, but also for kids, for young people, for small business owners. So if you are a provider that would like to teach financial education and it's not your day-to-day job like it is for me, it's a great resource. You can essentially pick up those facilitator guides, prepare, because you want to look like you've spent some time there, but you can essentially, if you're in a pinch, pick it up and teach it. But if you are not somebody who makes a living or who wants to, or is part of your job is to teach others financial education, please know that Money Smart has a whole section where you can go and you can learn the information by yourself, or you can pass those resources on. It has a podcast network. I'm a little embarrassed to say I just found that out like a month ago. Like, I've been using Money Smart for more than a decade. I'm like, oh wait, they have podcasts, and I love podcasts. So I was very excited to find this out. All free, all ad free. There's more than 100 episodes. The great thing about podcasts, you plug them in as you're doing the dishes or going you're going to spend some time outside or driving or sitting and relaxing. Whereas if I'm teaching a class, right, I typically, if we're teaching a class or doing a webinar, somebody has to sit there and pay attention, right? So I'm sucking up all of their time and their attention. But podcasts, number one, I can do on my schedule. Number two, I don't have to connect to anything. And it is a very, very easy way to get the information. They also have a computer-based instruction module, which is let me just say this right. So it is a it has a game-based learning design. See, it sounds really great, so I wanted to get it right. So it's not just like click here, read here, click here, read here. It is in a little game format, so it is certainly fun. And it has different modules, and you can earn certificates as you complete it, which I love, which is, I know, something that you've already heard about today, and it kind of tracks your progress through it. And again, of course, it's computer-based. You can do it on your own time. So very, very easy to access all of this information, and our intrepid host here have beat me to the punch. I was going to say, just Google FDIC Money Smart, but in the chat, you will see the link there. You will see the two different sections. One for teaching and one for learning, and a whole bunch of other links and information out there. So we use it, we love it, and I definitely wholeheartedly endorse it. So that is what I had to share today. Thanks again for the opportunity to be here. I am just so excited that everyone now will have the opportunity to learn more about another one of my favorite resources out in the community, which is the Financial Empowerment Center. So I will turn it over now, and you can learn more about that.
Hi, thanks, Anna. I appreciate that. And I'm so excited to be here talking to everyone today about the work we do at the Financial Empowerment Center. I think of us as another resource in an incredibly long line of wonderful resources that have already been shared today. And so I'm Becky Johnson. I'm the program manager for the Pittsburgh Financial Empowerment Center, and I'm excited to share out who we are and what we do. I want to preface my presentation here by stating that we are a resource that's available specifically to folks in the greater Pittsburgh area right now. So looking at the city of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, where we reside, and some of the surrounding counties, but we are part of a national partnership. And so on my screen here, I have these 4 logos. Every Financial Empowerment Center is part of a national network that is run through the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. And so for folks who are on this call who might not be local to the Pittsburgh area, you can find out if there's a Financial Empowerment Center near you or in your locality by visiting CFE, for Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund.org. And please check out that resource. And for those who live in the greater Pittsburgh area, this could be really relevant to you here today. And so our Financial Empowerment Center, as Sarah mentioned as we were kicking off earlier, is managed in part through Neighborhood Allies, the city of Pittsburgh, and then Advantage Credit Counseling, which is a nonprofit entity where I work and our team of counselors resides, that has been providing credit and other forms of counseling to folks for over 50 years. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So today I just wanted to touch on a little bit what we're going to lay out for you. I'm going to talk about 2 great resources. Obviously the Financial Empowerment Center being one of them, who we are, what we do, how folks can get connected to us, and share a little bit about some of the areas in which we work very heavily. The second is Bank on Allegheny County, which Sarah mentioned earlier. I'm going to touch on because it does relate to our work at the FEC. We'll share out some ways that we can build credit safely and smartly, credit being one of the key areas where we work. And then we'll have a wrap up. I'm going to share my contact information at the end of this, and so you'll have that. But please feel free to put questions in the chat. I know we were just, or I'm sorry, in the Q&A box, not the chat. I know we were just prompted to do that by our moderator. And so I think after me today, we'll be wrapping up. So if you want to go to the next slide. Perfect, thank you. At the Financial Empowerment Center, the key service that we offer is free one-on-one financial counseling. Folks who are coming to the FEC can work individually with a professionally trained financial counselor, and they can get help in any of these 4 focus areas in which we work. I'm going to delve into a little bit each of these individually, and I'll touch on them later in the presentation. But keeping in mind that any one of these 4 areas could really fit within any financial goal that someone is working toward or a financial challenge they're working through. And so the first focus area that we work in is helping folks to bank safely. We've had some representatives from banks on the call today. And our key takeaway here is a bank is a safe place to keep your money. And it's so important for people to know what banks are available to them, how to access an account that's going to work for them at that bank, and then how to learn how to utilize that account. And that's really what an FEC counselor is going to guide somebody in doing, helping them find an account, whether it be a checking account, a savings account, both, that's going to work for them. If it's an account for their child to work toward educational or other savings, making sure that folks are connected to a bank account locally, that they know how to access it, and they know how to utilize all of the benefits and features of that account. That's a really great first step in making sure that someone's on the path to financial stability. And so working to make sure folks are banked is a big part of what we do. The second factor is looking at improving credit. I think credit is probably one of the #1 areas that we're seeing folks come to us and ask for assistance. They want to know how to build up their credit. Maybe they're working toward a longer term goal. Anna touched on home ownership in her presentation, working to get their credit score to where it needs to be, to qualify for a mortgage, to think about applying for loans, to make improvements to a home they already own. Maybe they're looking at buying a car, solving a transportation issue to get to and from their job. We also know that credit, it fits itself into every facet of our lives, right? We have landlords who can check credit. There are employers who can check credit before offering a job. And so credit is one of those things that follows people around and can be really important in advancing to the next life goal that someone might have. And so making sure that folks know where their credit's at, what their score is, and the different factors that comprise a credit report is so, so important. Every client who comes to the FEC has the ability to pull their credit report with us every single session. I want to specify this is a soft credit pull, so it's not showing up as a hard inquiry and therefore affecting someone's credit score. And this is a partnership we have through Experian. So I'm going to touch on later some ways to build credit safely and smartly. And I will also touch on the other credit bureaus. We know there are 3 of them, Experian being just one, but I will advise folks how you can get access to all of your credit reports. But the FEC is here as a resource to be able to help someone monitor their credit, look at their score over time, and see how it might be changing or impacting their ability to reach a future financial goal that they have. And the last 2 areas we work in kind of do go hand in hand, but we work with folks to build savings and reduce debt. Again, when you're talking about building savings, one of the first things we're going to look at is, do you have a bank account? Do you have access to a safe place to keep that money that works for you? We can help folks find an account that's going to work for them. We're not tied to any particular financial institution, but can look at the range of offerings in the Pittsburgh area, or even nationally. There are some great online options that people can access, but working with them really to hone in on savings behaviors. Getting into the habit of putting money into a savings account every month is a great way to work toward becoming more financially stable and reaching a savings goal. The way we think about savings is doing a little bit every month can really add up over time. Whether someone is financially able to save $5 a month, or eventually as their income changes or hopefully grows, maybe save a little bit more, knowing what's going to work for them, but getting into the habit of building that savings. And while we're talking about a population here, focusing on folks who might have disabilities, our counselors are also going to be aware of any thresholds or limitations that might play into an amount someone is able to save based on a particular benefit they might be receiving, or as well other accounts that might work for them. We've heard some great talk about PA-able accounts already in today's presentation, and that's something that our counselors are also going to be versed in and able to help connect someone to. And when we look at debt reduction, just helping folks make a plan to manage their debt. This could be any type of debt that someone has: credit card debt, student loan debt, debt owed to a friend or a family member, or even an existing financial institution. But working out a plan to pay down that debt and really be able to move forward with financial goals is so important to be on that path to financial stability. So if you could go to the next slide. Thanks. Just to sum up kind of those 4 focus areas, any single person coming to the Financial Empowerment Center can expect free ongoing support from an accredited professional. I can't stress enough that the team of financial counselors that we're working with here in Pittsburgh, they are certified financial counselors. You can trust when you're coming to them, you're going to speak to an expert and be given quality advice. This is not advice that's meant to misguide somebody or even make judgments upon them for past mistakes they might have made with their money. Our approach is as judgment-free as it can possibly be, and it's individualized. The goals we're working on with our clients are really driven by that individual. You know, it's set at a pace that they're willing and ready to work at, and it can be for as long as someone needs it. Our services don't have an end date. People can come to us for as long and as often as they're ready to. We have a lot of people who are coming every month to talk with their financial counselor and are doing that over the course of several months. When you think about a financial goal that somebody might have, like owning a home or reducing their debt to build their credit, that can take time. That can take several months to start to see changes in someone's credit score or credit report, but also building a savings foundation to have a down payment to put toward a home. So you can work with a financial counselor for as long as you need to. And I want to specify again, for those who might just be joining us or who missed what I said earlier, this is specific to the Pittsburgh Financial Empowerment Center, but these expectations are really across the board at any financial empowerment center that someone might be accessing, whether elsewhere in Pennsylvania or around the country. And so know that these expectations are really part of the national network of financial empowerment centers. Every interaction we have is confidential. People can trust that their information is kept in a secure, safe place and isn't being talked about outside of that session. I think that's really important as we're talking with folks about money, which is a very personal issue and really hard to talk about. So folks can know that their information is safe and secure when they're coming to the FEC, and that they have a trusted accountability partner to work toward in achieving their future financial goals. Apologies, I think I was muted there for a second. I hope that I'm just going to restate my last sentence in case someone might have missed it. People can come to the FEC over the course of time and work with a financial counselor to know that they have an accountability partner in working to reach their financial goals. All of our sessions are currently being offered by phone or by video, and we hope to resume in-person services in the Pittsburgh area once it's safe to do so. And one thing I didn't put on this slide, but that I just can't stress enough, is this program is available to anybody. Anybody living in the greater Pittsburgh area, so long as they are over the age of 18. We do not have income or other qualifications to come to this program. We have folks who are not earning an income right now and who are in the job search process. We have folks who are working with a fixed income, maybe they earn a disability benefit or they're in retirement and living on Social Security. And we have folks who are making higher level incomes. You know, if someone is struggling with money management or has a goal they want to work toward with an accountability partner, the FEC is a perfect place for you. So if you'll go to the next slide. All right, so I know we're in a little bit of a group setting here, but I wanted to pose some questions that might just get people in the mindset of starting to think about why the services that the FEC offers are really so beneficial and so needed. And so if folks just want to think about this or jot it down on a piece of paper at home, but think about the percentage of US households that are unbanked, meaning do not have a bank account in any way, shape, or form, or they're underbanked. And our definition of underbanked here is someone who might engage in a fringe financial product. Maybe they are going to a check cashing place or engaging in an online advance on a paycheck. Someone who chooses to use money orders instead of writing checks. And let's be clear, there are definite reasons for all of this. And we don't want to make someone feel stigmatized or ashamed for having engaged with any of these products. But a lot of them are so predatory in nature, and there are alternatives that folks can access. And so if we're looking at the total percentage of households that are banked or underbanked, if you'll go to the next slide. Nationally, that number is 16%. You know, that's a pretty, this used to be a little bit higher. That number's gone down in recent months. And the source for this information is coming from our partners at Bank On, which is also part of the CFE fund. So if anyone's interested in learning more about Bank On, they can visit the Cities for Financial Empowerment website at cfefund.org. But close to 5% of households in the United States are unbanked, and 11% are underbanked, meaning that they're not fully engaging with the safe financial products available to them. And this is so important. And what we're seeing in Allegheny County is that this number is even higher. This number is closer to 30% in the Allegheny County area. And so that's 1 in 3, 1 in 4 individuals are struggling with accessing banking services and banking products that work for them. And I think this statistic really highlights why the FEC in a service like ours can be important, but also this next resource that I'm going to talk about. So if you want to go to the next screen, Bank on Allegheny County. Sarah mentioned this when she first opened our presentation today, and I wanted to share a little bit about it because it is a program that the FEC works closely with and making sure that folks have access to accounts that are going to work for them. To say, the website is hyperlinked in my slides, but I realize that's not helpful for you all. And so the website for Bank On is bankonallegheny.org. We can get that in the chat box, but also share it out, hopefully in notes after this presentation. And Bank on Allegheny County, I know we've talked about accessing bank accounts already in our presentation today, but it's a collaboration between various financial institutions, different organizations around the community, and local government that is helping to make safe, affordable bank accounts available to individuals who need them. There are different Bank On accounts across the country. So again, this is focused on Allegheny County, but you can learn about Bank On options wherever you may be. So if you're in a different part of Pennsylvania, or again in a different state, there are probably safe account options for you in your locality, and you can learn about that at cfefund.org. And we know that it's so important. A bank account is an empowering tool that individuals and families can use to improve their financial stability and capability, and to help them feel more independent in managing their money. Bank accounts are great tools to work toward financial stability. And so if you want to go to the next slide. Thank you. I wanted to highlight a little bit about the Bank on Allegheny County offerings that we have here. So as I mentioned, what Bank On does is promote financial institutions to have these certified accounts. A certified account meets the Bank On national standards for safety and affordability. This means that an account doesn't offer overdraft protection or non-sufficient funds fees. It's safe. Folks who are using these accounts aren't going to incur a fee for using these accounts. If you're someone who's prone to overdrafting your account, incurring a fee, and not being able to get above that fee, that can lock you out from that bank account. So let's get you a bank account that doesn't have that, so you're not ever going to be locked out from utilizing that account. These accounts are low cost, typically $5 or less per month, and there are no extraneous fees that get tacked on. Again, because we know those extraneous fees can prevent someone from fully utilizing and engaging with their bank account. And these accounts are really meant to work for someone at every level. They have wonderful benefits, including the ability to deposit your checks, make withdrawals, access ATMs, and set up automated bill pay. There are 8 certified accounts in the Pittsburgh area. I'm not listing them all here, but you can find out what those accounts are at bankonallegheny.org, which I know was just put in the chat. And go and look at those accounts. Talk to individuals at those banks. But know that if you're feeling overwhelmed or not quite sure how to take that information and kind of find one that works for you, this is something an FEC counselor can help with. We're happy to help folks understand what are these accounts, which one might work for them, and then get connected to that bank to actually open an account. Knowing what to say when you go into that bank and being able to specify this is the account I want is a really empowering thing, and can be a really great way for someone to feel more comfortable and confident in utilizing a bank account. And that's our big goal at the FEC, is to empower folks, to give them the confidence, the skills, and the tools they need to manage their money independently and in a way that works for them. And so again, visit bankonallegheny.org to learn more about this, but I wanted to highlight this wonderful and new resource in the Pittsburgh region that is available to folks who are living here. If you could go to the next slide. I have one more question. I know you're all probably maybe tired of my trivia here. But I mentioned earlier that we work really heavily in the realm of credit, and credit needs are a big focus for people who are coming to the Pittsburgh Financial Empowerment Center, but also other financial empowerment centers around the country. And so I wanted to pose a question to the group here about how many Americans do they think are credit invisible? Meaning that person doesn't have a credit score, or maybe doesn't even have a credit report. When they go to pull something, there is literally not enough information about their credit history to even comprise a report. So if you want to go to the next slide. Thank you. We know this number nationwide is about 26 million people. According to CFPB, that's roughly 1 in 10 American consumers is considered to be credit invisible. And the reason that someone who's credit invisible, why this can be an issue is because that person with their limited credit history is often going to have difficulty going into a lender and getting access to a loan, getting access to funding that they might need or want to purchase a home, to start a business, to buy transportation. Being credit invisible can pose a lot of problems financially for someone, and working with a financial empowerment center counselor can help that person to get on the path to building credit in a safe and smart way, which is one of the things I'm going to talk about next. And so if you want to go to the next slide. I mentioned already that credit is one of the big areas that we get a lot of requests for. And so for some people in our room today, this might be old information, something that's new to them. And for some of you, this might be new. But I wanted to take the information that we have as financial counselors and share it out as it relates to a credit score. One of the #1 questions we get whenever someone comes in for a session is, what is my credit score? Why is my credit score like it is? And what can I do to change or to build my credit score? And so this is an area where an FEC counselor can be of great value, but can also help someone to understand. I mentioned earlier that every single session someone comes to, we have the ability to pull a copy of their credit report and give them their credit score. And we do this to be able to monitor changes over time and help them see the small victories they might be having, or even a setback, if a credit score goes down, but then make a plan to talk about how to rebound from that and get their credit score back to where they want it to be. And so I wanted to share a little bit today about the main factors that comprise a credit score. Because this is new information for a lot of people. And if you're thinking about your own credit score or looking at your credit report, this might be valuable information for you to think about as you're working towards your next financial goal. So specifically, I'm going to talk about the factors that go into building a FICO credit score today. And for those who didn't know, highlighted in blue here, the #1 factor that weights most heavily in determining your credit score is actually someone's payment history, whether or not that person is making payments on time. Our advice as financial counselors is, no matter how many accounts or the different types of accounts that someone has, keeping those accounts in good standing is a great way to build a healthy credit history and keep that score at a level that they want it to be. For someone who's made delinquent payments, you'll see that those late payments can be reflected on a credit report, and a lender sees that. They can see how many times someone has been delinquent in the last 30, 60, or 90 days, and that might impact their ability to want to lend money. And so getting into the habit of making payments on time and working with a financial counselor to ensure you can make payments on time, building out a budget that works and accounts for all the payments you might have in your monthly budget is a really great step to be able to make these on-time payments and work toward a really stable credit history. The second factor that weights most heavily at 30% is the amounts owed on someone's various credit accounts. So here we're looking whether or not someone is utilizing a lot of their available credit. For someone who has available credit of $1,000, what sort of balance might they be utilizing or carrying every month on that card? Is it high, utilizing $999, what we might say is maxed out? To a lender, someone who carries a really high balance on their credit card, to a lender, that might look like you're overextended, like you don't have the ability to take on more payments because you might default. And that might encourage a lender to choose to not give you a loan or to give you a better rate for something because they're worried about your ability to pay it back. So making sure to track your balances and know if you have a high balance, what you can do to pay that down. And that's something a financial counselor can help someone work with. The third factor we're looking at here is the length of credit history. This weights a little bit less at 15%, but looking at how long someone has had established credit and how they've been using that. Generally, a longer credit history equals a higher credit score. And determining this, FICO, because we're talking about FICO scores here today, they're looking at how long your credit accounts have been established and how long and the ways you've been using those accounts. So we get questions a lot. People ask us, I have a credit card and I'm looking to close it out because I don't use it or it doesn't really work for me. One of the questions we might say is, how long have you had that credit card? Have you had that credit card for 15 years? Because closing it out could make your average amount of credit length much shorter. As a personal example, I have a credit card that I got when I went to college. My parents made me an authorized user on this credit card. And that has given me a pretty solid foundation of credit history length. But I know that closing that account out, which is at this point about 20 years old, I'm aging myself here a little bit, closing that account out might shrink my credit history, and that can actually impact your credit score. And so just understanding the different types of credit you have and how long they've been open is a key factor in knowing what your credit score might be and why you might see fluctuations in your credit score. Getting to the last two here, because I do want to be wary of time, looking at the different mix of credit that someone might have. For anyone who's thinking about what their credit score is and why it is what it is, look at the different types of trade lines on your credit report. Look at, are they credit cards? Are they retail, like credit cards that can be used anywhere that just might have a revolving balance that carries over? Are they retail store cards that can only be used at a clothing or other online retailer? Are they installment loans? Are they mortgage loans? A good, healthy mix of credit can be a positive factor that influences your credit score. But I want to specify here, people don't need to worry if they don't have every single type of credit that I just specified. Don't feel like you have to go out and get an auto loan and get a mortgage or cancel your store credit cards. But just know that that might be a way when you're looking to build up your credit. Someone or some entity that might offer advice could tell you to look at diversifying the types of credit you have as a way to build your score. I use a tool called Mint to manage my budgeting. Mint is a free tool from the folks at Intuit, the same with the TurboTax software. And I use Mint to manage my budget, and it does tell me regularly that I could consider diversifying my types of credit if I wanted to raise my score a little bit. And so that's just something to think about. And the last thing is looking at new credit. How frequently is someone opening a line of credit? Opening several accounts in a really short period of time can actually represent a greater risk to you and looks riskier to a potential lender. So especially if that person has a really short credit history. So for someone who's looking to build their credit, opening new accounts gradually, if you're able to do that, or also looking at options like secure credit cards, which I'm going to talk about on the next slide, are a great way to build your credit. And so I know this was a lot of information, but this is something that so many people really don't know about. You know, the factors that comprise a credit score is directly tied to the information in your credit report. And this is something that a financial counselor can help you navigate and figure out what's going on in your credit history and make a plan to make it work for you. So if you'll go to the next slide. Thanks. I wanted to share out our favorite tips for building credit safely and smartly. And a lot of this is tied to review of what I talked about on the previous slide. But again, making consistent on-time payments is the #1 first step to make sure that you are on the path to having great credit that is going to work for you and allow you to reach the financial goals that you're hoping to achieve. Keeping in mind the amounts owed or the credit utilization. You know, when I talked about trying to keep your cards not at a level where they're maxed out, but still wanting to use your credit, we talk about a 30% rule. You'll notice that when your available credit gets to be about 30% utilized, you might see a change in your credit score. Once you go above 30%, meaning you have $1,000 in credit, you're carrying a balance of $400, that's 40%. You might see your credit score take a temporary little dive, but it's going to rebound as you make payments on that money owed. But if you're consistently from month to month carrying a credit card balance that might be over 30%, you could see that negatively impact your credit score over the course of time until you start to pay some of that off. You know, we want people to use credit, but to know how to do it safely and smartly. Again, avoiding opening new accounts. And this is especially important for people who are new to credit. We have a lot of young people who come to us and they say that they went to a strip mall and they tried to go to several retailers and open a credit card at each one. You know, that hit their credit report over time. And that can look like a risk to a lender and they might be less likely to get approved. And so trying to stagger the types and frequency with which you're opening new credit, but also doing it in a smart way, learning about the best options to get a credit card, a secured credit card through a bank, something that might work for you, and an FEC counselor can help guide you through that process. Secured credit cards are fantastic because they're actually tied to a savings account. You know, so you might have $500 that you put toward a secured credit card. And when you use that credit card, the money to pay it is actually tied to this savings account that you already built. It's building your credit, but it's doing it in a way that's not going to take you into debt, which is a big concern for someone who's new to utilizing credit. And the last, our pro tip here that I want to share is I encourage everyone on this call today, if you haven't recently, to look at your credit reports. know the information that is on that credit report. At the very least, to be monitoring it for fraud. Especially in pandemic times, we've seen a lot of fraudulent activity and scams are on the rise. And it is so important to know that your credit history and your personally identifiable information that's tied to your credit is safe and secure. And so the number one way to check your credit report is through annualcreditreport.com. And this resource is fantastic and one we point our FEC clients to on a regular basis. Annual Credit Report is actually making credit reports available for free from each of the 3 credit bureaus every single week. This used to be that you could access it once every 12 months, but when the COVID pandemic hit and there was a renewed interest in making sure folks' information is safe and secure, and we saw that increase in scams that I mentioned, the folks at Annual Credit Report wanted to make it accessible for people to monitor their credit and make sure everything is safe and secure. And so they've made it available weekly. So you can go gung-ho and every single week pull any of your credit reports from any of the 3 credit bureaus and just make sure that you're looking. And it's important to do all 3 because what shows up on one report might not show up on another report. So it's really important to get that full picture of your credit history in your portfolio, just to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and you are protecting what is yours. That credit might be needed at some point in the future as you look toward a future goal, buying a home, starting a business. And so you want to make sure it's as safe and secure as can be for you. And this is Annual Credit Report is again linked in this presentation, and we can also put it in the chat for folks who are looking, but that is the number one place to get access to all 3 of your credit reports from each bureau for free. If you want to go to the next slide. So I just, this was a lot of information that we've been sharing about the Financial Empowerment Center. And I sort of wanted to bring it back full circle and really highlight the ways that a financial counselor is able to help. We have a lot of different ways here that we're interacting with clients. First and foremost, helping them find that bank account that works for them and learning how to utilize that bank account. When it comes to working toward financial goals, one of the biggest things is knowing that you have a budget and you have a plan to be able to reach that goal. I highlight this because not everyone always sees the connection, but it's something that we sort of preach about quite a bit at the FEC. If you have a goal of buying a home or even starting a business, paying down existing debt, it's important to know that we have a concrete budget that works for you. Building out that budget and knowing the amount of money coming in and the amount of money going out in expenses is the only way to make a plan for how we can also fit in payments that are owed, how you might factor in a house payment, a mortgage payment, a new car payment, making sure that it fits within your budget, or you're adjusting to make a budget that is going to account for all of the needs you have, but not put you in detriment of defaulting on a payment or needing to rely on credit. Going into debt for the purpose of getting out of debt is not a good way to do it. And so a financial counselor can help guide and kind of help you prioritize what your money situation is to make it work for you. Again, reviewing that credit report and learning responsible credit use. I just talked at length about that, so I won't harp on it, but just knowing that you have the options available to get help where you need it. I know some of these things I'm talking about might be easier said than actually doing on your own. And so for someone who is nervous about calling a credit card company or a lender, your Financial Empowerment Center counselor is actually willing to do that call with you. We're willing to hop on a 3-way call and to help advocate and to help you learn what types of questions you can ask to get to what you need. This is a really important part of the empowerment process, right? So let's say you're calling a credit card company to set up a payment plan for some outstanding debt or to learn about hardship options or a reduced interest rate option. If you're not sure what questions to ask, let's get your financial counselor on that call. Let's call together. You as the client can hear the questions we're answering. And all of this is always done with the client's permission. We only ever call third parties with the client right there on the line with us. This is never something that happens outside of a session. But you hearing your financial counselor go through these lists of questions and hearing how they approach this conversation with a lender or a debt collector can be really empowering for you to internalize and then be able to do yourself. So maybe that first call, your financial counselor takes the lead, but then the second call, we're going to say, okay, now it's your turn to take the lead. You know the questions to ask, you can do this. We're going to be right here as financial counselors if you need help or hit a snag, but you are advocating for yourself. And that is what financial empowerment is all about. Our counselors are working to give you the skills and the confidence and the tools you need to be an advocate for yourself and to understand your rights as a consumer. And that is one of the key parts of financial empowerment. Anyone who has questions about student loans, that's an area I haven't touched on yet, but that is a big need. We know that student loan debt has surpassed mortgage debt in this country. And whether you're a young adult heading into school, finishing school, or even a parent or grandparent who might be co-signed on a loan for somebody, student loan debt is in crisis in this country right now. And it can be a very complicated process to navigate. Our counselors are well-versed and well-trained in federal and private student loans and can help you make a plan for that debt and how to work with it over time. Because student loans do not go away. They are with you for the long term. And it's really important that you can pay them back, but also still live your life. And we can help you kind of find that balance and a plan that'll work for you. And just touching on homeownership or other small business goals that someone might have. To Anna's point, she talked about homeownership programming available at First Commonwealth. The way a financial counselor might approach that is saying, let's look at where your credit score is at and make sure it's in a place where you could qualify for a mortgage, but let's also look at how much money you're saving for a down payment. And when you're ready, let's get you connected to a great program like Anna's talking about at First Commonwealth or another homeownership program in the community. Our role we see as really part of a step in a series of steps that can get someone to the point of financial stability. And so if there's something we as financial counselors don't do, we're going to get you connected to a community partner. I've listed some examples at the bottom of my screen here. Someone who's looking for legal help. And this could be tied to a financial issue. If someone is considering filing bankruptcy or wants to understand what that process would look like, they really should consult an attorney. But also if you have a tangled title issue with a home that you inherited, that's a legal process to get that title straightened out. And we'll try to make referrals to pro bono or different organizations that could provide consultations free of charge to anyone who might be needing those. We're heavy into tax season right now. So we've been making sure that folks are connected to tax preparation resources in their area, but also public benefits. If someone isn't aware of disability resources in the community that we could connect them to, we're going to find a way to do a soft handoff, get them that information, and make sure they understand the application process. And so again, if we don't do it, we'll find a way to get you connected. So if you want to go to my next slide, I just wanted to highlight the ways that someone could schedule an FEC session specifically for the Pittsburgh Financial Empowerment Center. And so I've listed our phone number and our email address here. This email is monitored by me. And so I do try to write everyone back within the day if they're interested in scheduling that way. And our phone service is staffed by actual humans. So you're going to be talking to someone. It's not an automated system. And so you can call that 1-800-298-0237 Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can get scheduled for a session right then and there. We also have an online appointment request form, which is hyperlinked here that I put in the slide, but can be shared out afterward or perhaps in the chat box. But someone can fill that form out and request an appointment for themselves. Our team of financial counselors has availability right now. So someone reaching out can usually get a session within a week or two, depending on their availability and their schedule. So there's not a huge wait time to get these sessions right now. So if you are wanting to learn more, if you're an individual who's looking to schedule a session, or if you're a service provider on the call who wants to learn more about this program and be able to talk about it to the folks that you're working with, please join us for a session. Get a sense of what we're all about and learn about it for yourself so you can promote this to the people that you're working with. I don't expect you to talk about a service unless you've experienced it yourself and had a positive experience. And that's what we really want to promote for our program. And so if you want to go to the next slide, I have included my contact information here. This is my direct email and my phone number and our Financial Empowerment Center website, which for the Pittsburgh Financial Empowerment Center is fecpgh.org. And so anyone can go there to learn more about our program and get connected with members of our team. And please feel free to reach out to me with any other questions you might have. I love talking to new people, meeting people. And if you have a question about whether or not you're eligible for our services or want to make a referral, please don't hesitate to reach out and I'm happy to have that conversation. And so thank you all for the time today. And I think I'm going to pass it back to our host and moderator to wrap things up and maybe do some Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't see any questions right now, but certainly if any pop up in the next couple of minutes as I'm doing this closing, I will certainly let everyone know. So first of all, I just want to thank all of our presenters. You guys were all fantastic. I'm sure everyone learned a lot today. There's so much good information here, and I will be sending slides out later today. And again, this webinar will be posted to our website along with all the previous webinars in this series for you to view at your convenience. I want to also thank everyone who attended this presentation today. We all really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this presentation. And lastly, since this is the last in the series of webinars, I just wanted to thank Sarah at Neighborhood Allies for again giving us this opportunity to offer this series of webinars. We've had so many people that contributed to these programs and so much input, including 3 of our presenters today, Rebecca Johnson, Anna Frank, and Katie Smith. There's probably far too many people, to mention that have helped us with these webinars, but I'd also like to thank my colleagues here at Achieva Family Trust for all of their assistance. So that being said, I think that's all I have, and I don't see any other questions. So again, this should be up on our website by tomorrow, and I will send the slides out later today. Thank you all. Oh, wait, I did see a question come up. How would one find out if Ohio might also have FEC?
Yes, so I'm just going to jump in here. I did see that question in the chat just now.
Oh, thank you.
Financial Empowerment Center in Akron, in the Akron region. And so I'm not sure where this person is at in Ohio, but there is a Financial Empowerment Center in Akron that we can share out. I can put that website in the chat. But there are also new cities who are getting ready to launch. So depending on where you're at in Ohio, you might be able to access one of those. So I apologize. I'm just Googling the Financial Empowerment Center in Akron, and I'll be sure to put that in the chat. And it's actually the Financial Empowerment Center of Summit County, which is the county that encompasses Akron.
And when I send out the slides, I think I speak for all the presenters, you will have everyone's contact information, and you will have our contact information here at Achieva Family Trust and Sarah's as well. So if there are any other questions that anyone thinks of, please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone. There is one last question about verification for having attended the webinar for continuing education credits. If you just email me at purina@achieva.info, I would be glad to send an email. And let me put my email in the chat box too for you to see. I would be glad to send an email confirming your attendance.
Patty, can I answer a question that popped up too?
Oh, sure, please do.
So folks there's been a flurry of questions, and some of them we answered through the Q&A and not verbally. But just to let folks know, if you want to know if there's a bank on near you or a financial empowerment center near you, the best place to go would be the CFE Fund website. That's Cities for Financial Empowerment Center. And that website is cfefund.org. And then once you're there, you can go to projects and either go to Financial Empowerment Center or Bank On. There's also a map where you could click on your location and see what kind of projects that they support are available where you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much for adding that. Okay, and I put my email address again in the chat box as well as the Q&A box if anyone needs certification of attendance. So again, thank you all for attending today. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.